Let me quickly go through how your church can be everywhere on Google, because in addition to your Google business profile, you need to be everywhere people are looking. This is why local SEO is so different from generic search engine optimization, because we're focused on those local results. We're focused on showing up wherever people are looking. Not only that, when your church is listed locally in multiple places, your listing can rank higher because more people are recommending you, right? You ever see those billboards, #1 recommended, #1 rated, that form of social proof? Google has something similar where they look at how many people are referring back to your website locally. And if those are trusted and authoritative sites, not just some scammy Chinese site or Russian, whoever, anyone else can be scammy. No scam artist, what would you call a prejudice here, right? Anyone can be a scam artist. You can't just go list your website on those websites and then expect Google to rank you. In fact, it'll do the opposite. It'll probably penalize you. But if you have trustworthy, authoritative sites listing your church, something like, for example, a good example, Yelp, right? That's an easy one. Then Google gets more positive signals saying, hey, this is obviously a local business. These people obviously mean business, and we should probably recommend them more because more people are talking about them. This is how the big churches get those top spots, because more people are just naturally talking about it. The more the church has going on, the more resources it has, the more programs it has, the more people are going to talk about it. This is the uphill battle we have to fight. But I'm going to share with you a great way that small churches can rise alongside those larger churches. A good example of what I'm talking about, when I talk about being everywhere, pastor called me, one of our clients, and said, you won't believe how someone found our church. And it was a direct result. I mean, there's no arguing that this was God working through our organization. Man didn't have a car ride and just felt the call to go to church. And he didn't trust anyone to take him to church, I guess, for whatever reason. He went to Uber to get a car to go to church. And instead of going to Google, like I said, most people do, instead of going to Yelp or Yellow Pages, he went directly to Uber and said church. I think he just typed the word church, right? And if you do that, our client's church shows up first. Our client's church of 125 people just shows up first. So click on that, Uber, take me there. Maybe he thought Uber wouldn't take him to any other church. I don't know. But he started in Uber, came there, met the pastor, shared his story, and pastor was like, you don't got to take Uber anymore. We'll get people to take you to church. And they did. They've been taking them to church, as far as I know, since then. This happened half a year ago, I think. So if they weren't listening in Uber, that man could have gone to another church. And this isn't to say that we're competing with other churches necessarily, but we are competing with other wolves in sheep's clothing, or if God forbid, that guy's went to a different language speaking church, he would have felt out of place. He would have felt like an outsider, and potentially, that church might not have treated him well. And so it was totally a God thing that he came to this church via the work that we did to get him listed in Uber. So this is what I'm talking about. You want to be everywhere people are searching. We call these directory listings. You might also hear them just called listing, local listings, citations, citation development. There's a lot of jargon out there. I don't like jargon, so we're just going to call them directory listings. That's why these are so important, because the more places your church is listed online, the more ways people can find you. And just because you're listed in one place doesn't mean that I only search that one place to find you. There can be even more resources that pull information from that one place. For example, Nextdoor. You might get those mailers that say, check us out on Nextdoor, sign up for Nextdoor. Your neighbors aren't, I hate this. I'll never do this, but I got a mailer that said, hey, your neighbors are on Nextdoor and they wanted to invite you to join. And I joined Nextdoor, and like no one in our neighborhood was in there. And I was like, I feel scammed. Because I just got this thing, right? It's kind of like Neighbors, but it's Nextdoor. But if your church is listed in Nextdoor, anyone that happens to be using Nextdoor can use it. Or if something like the Echo, the Amazon Echo, or if someone like the Google Home Pod thing, if you ask them for a resource, it might check Nextdoor. If you ask him a question, it might check the information. You could ask, hey, what church is meeting at 11 o'clock on Sunday? Or what church meets after 10 a.m.? It may not check Google. It may not check Yelp. It may check Nextdoor. And a lot of other companies will double check Nextdoor to verify another listing, if that makes sense. So if your listings are the same everywhere, which they should be, then again, that increases your online authority, your online trustworthiness, and it allows you to be found wherever people are looking, because I would have never assumed someone would just search for churches in Uber, but here we are. So where do you list your church? Number one, don't automatically go to church listings, okay? Church Angel, Church Finder, denominational websites, those are fine. But if you're listening to the show, you're a pastor, church leader who probably wants to grow their church and grow the kingdom, not just transplant saints around to different congregations. So yeah, being on those church directories is fine, but non-church people aren't going to check there. They're not going to think about it. They're going to look at the places they know. Google is one of them, which you have the Google Business Profile. Bing is another one, which there is a tool you can use to sync the two. So Google, you just do it once on Google and it reflects on Bing. Yelp, Yellow Pages, Nextdoor, Uber, Better Business Bureau is not a bad place. Your local chamber of commerce, any other local listings and resources, travel sites, blogs as well. You might contact a local blogger. There might be a local faith blogger. You can just say, hey, can you list our church as like a resource or something local? You know, find those local places where you can list your church using your exact name, your exact address, your exact phone number, so it matches everything else. There are some more advanced things like anchor text, linking, no follows, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about all that. You would let a pro worry about that. But once you have those, you have kind of like, it really does become an interweb, becomes a web of connectivity where if I see you on Google, I'm going to double check you on Yelp, I'm going to double check you on Facebook, and as long as your listing is the same everywhere, it develops trust. And this is how we get smaller churches to rank up alongside or even beyond larger churches in their community, because in order to rank higher than any other church, including the large ones, you have to do what they're not doing. And they are doing a lot. So you need to do just a little bit more, right? You need to be doing alt text tagging. You need to be doing schema markup. You need to be doing updating your Google Business Profile multiple times a week, right? You need to be consistent name, address, phone across everywhere. And if you make a change, it changes everywhere. You need to be maintaining your reviews. All of this combined into one ecosystem will help your church rank alongside or even beyond larger churches. We have a client church. They were 75 when we started. Last time we talked, they were around 130. I'm not saying that's all because of us. It's all because of God, but we play a part in a larger strategy for that church, growth strategy for that church. And one of the things they asked me was, how are we ranking higher than the church down the street? It is literally down the street, and that church is running about 1,000 to 1,500. Right? And so how is this church of sub 200 ranking higher? It's easy. We're doing more, okay? So if you want a ranking, you've heard that phrase. If you want what you've never had, you got to do what you've never done. If you want to go beyond what the top churches are doing and you want to be found more than they are, you have to do more than what they're doing. Because even if you're found, or excuse me, to be found, you have to be easy to find. I know that sounds simple, but sometimes we got to take it back to the basics, all right? If you want to be found, if you want to be visible, you have to do whatever it takes to be found and visible.